A Droving Yarn by Henry Lawson for the LibriVox Coffee Break Collection number 10, War and Conflict. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Son of the Exiles. A Droving Yarn. Andy McCulloch had heard that old Bill Barker, the well-known overland drover, had died over on the Westralian side, and Dave Regan told a yarn about Bill.
Bill Barker, said Dave, talking round his pipe stem, was the quintessence of a drover.
"The what-a, Dave?" came the voice of Jim Bentley in startled tones from the gloom on the far end of the verandah.
"The quintessence," said Dave, taking his pipe out of his mouth. "You shut up, Jim. As I said, Bill Barker was the quintessence of a drover. He'd been at the game ever since he was a nipper. He run away from home when he was 14 and went up into Queensland. He's been all over Queensland and New South Wales and most of South Australia, and a good deal of the Western too, over the great stock routes from one end to the other. Lord knows how many times. No man could keep up with him riding out, and no one could bring a mob of cattle or a flock of sheep through like him. He knew every trick of the game. If there was grass to be had, Bill'd get it, no matter whose run it was on. One of his games in a dry season was to let his mob get boxed with the station stock on a run where there was grass, and before Bill's men and the station hands could cut 'em out, the travelling stock would have a good bellyful to carry them on the track. Billy was the daddy of the drovers. Some said that he could ride in his sleep, and that he had one old horse that could jog along in his sleep too, and that, travelling out from home to take charge of a mob of bullocks or a flock of sheep, Bill and his horse would wake up at daylight and blink round to see where they were and how far they'd got. Then Bill would make a fire and boil his quart pot and roast a bit of mutton while his horse had a mouthful of grass and a spell. You remember Bill, Andy? Big, dark man and a joker of the loud sort. Never slept with a blanket over him, always folded under him on the sand or grass. Seldom wore a coat on the route, though he always carried one with him in case he came across a bush ball or a funeral. Moleskins, flannel waistcoat, cabbage tree hat and elastic-sided boots. When it was roasting hot on the plains and the men swore at the heat, Jim would yell, "Call this hot? Why, you blanks, I'm freezing. Where's me overcoat?" When it was raining and hailing and freezing on Bell's Line and the Blue Mountains in winter, and someone shivered and asked, "Is it cold enough for you now, Bill?" "Cold," Bill would bellow. "I'm sweating." I remember it well. I was little more than a youngster then. Bill Barker came past our place with about 1,000 fat sheep for the Homebush sale yards at Sydney, and he gave me a job to help him down with them on Bell's Line over the mountains, and mighty proud I was to go with him, I can tell you. One night we camped on the Cudgegong River. The country was dry and pretty close cropped, and we'd been sweating the paddocks all along there for our horses. You see, when there weren't slip rails handy, we'd just take the tomahawk and nick the top of a straight grain fence post just above the mortise, knock out the wood there, lift the top rail out and down, and jump the horses in over the lower one. It was all 2 rail fences round there with sheep wires under the lower rail. And about daylight we'd have the horses out, lift back the rail, and fit in the chock that we'd knocked out. Simple as striking matches, wasn't it? Well, the horses were getting a good bellyful in the police horse paddock at night, and Bill took the first watch with the sheep. It was very cold and frosty on the flat, and he thought the sheep might make back for the ridges. It's always warmer up in the ridges in winter out of the frost. Bill roused me out about midnight. "There's the sheep," he says, pointing to a white blur. "They've settled down. I think they'll be quiet till daylight. Don't go round 'em. There's no occasion to go near 'em. You can stop by the fire and keep an eye on 'em." The night seemed very long. I watched and
Sample complete. Ready to continue?